What's up, party people? This is Weezak7 of Weezak Games, and we're here playing Kenshi. Oh, why is everything so... Okay, we're good. So, I think this episode here, we ventured out into the world, and I think the takeaway is that we're not really ready for the world yet. We need some some training, and we're gonna get that. We're gonna do that. Books, these fabrics and leather. Okay. So before we get into our little training montage, I wanted to touch on some aspects of Kenshi that I don't think I've really gotten into, despite this being my 35th episode? 36th? Excuse me. Something like that. And that is the stats and skills. And that, as soon as I get this stuff over here, okay. So, Kenshi is, at its core, a role-playing game, an RPG. And like a lot of RPGs, it has stats for its character, all kinds of numbers. And I thought I'd take a little bit of time here before I got into the montage to explain some of these stats, because some of it is detailed fairly well. We'll use Greyspot here as an example. Greyspot's not moving very much. Some of it is detailed fairly well in the game itself. You know, it does have descriptions and stuff for these things over here, but some of it is not so obvious. You've got your 4 basic attributes, which is your strength. Oh, I guess it does. Okay, so they have expanded this a bit since the last time I saw it. Your attack speed with heavy weapons, your martial arts damage. So strength is carry weight is the most obvious thing. Strength also affects blunt damage. For weapons like the Jit, which isn't a heavy weapon, but it does blunt damage, which I would show you, except as soon as I move the mouse, it takes that away. And from what I understand from reading through the forums, is that the blunt damage is improved by strength. That weapons have a certain amount of damage based on their weight, and in terms of blunt damage, and to use that effectively, you need to have a strength score that is high enough. Someone said twice the blunt damage or twice the weight. I don't remember the ratio exactly. But the point is, for blunt weapons, higher strength is better. For bladed weapons that do cutting damage, dexterity is better, because it allows you to make more precise cuts, I suppose. And different weapons have different ratios. From things like the katana, which is purely cutting, to things like the blunt weapons, which are purely blunt. And then other weapons have different values in between. See, this has some of both. This has some of both, etc. This has some of both. You know, you get the idea. Dexterity also affects your dodging ability. And I mean, the dodge ability is pretty self-explanatory. Perception is your accuracy. I mean, it says right there, your accuracy and your ability to shoot moving targets. So that's important for archers and harpoonists. You know, turret boys and turret girls. And then the last one is toughness, which affects both what your KO point is, it affects your martial arts damage, and it improves your damage resistance. Basically, the higher your toughness is, the harder you are to knock out, the shorter amount of time you stay unconscious for, and the more damage you resist. So toughness is useful for everybody, especially for martial artists, though, because they are punching things with their fists. And when you punch things like doors or skeletons, you know, metal objects with your fist, or I think people with lots of metal armor, it can actually damage you as well because you're punching metal. But if you train your toughness high enough, it will no longer... It'll mitigate that, and then I believe eventually remove it. Okay. Whoops. So, the best ways to level strength, I believe using heavy weapons will level it. Also just carrying around lots of stuff. So you fill up your inventory, or fill up another character's inventory and then carry them. You know, just carrying a lot of stuff around will level up your strength. There are mods that have, like, weight benches, that introduce weight benches. But I'll get to training stations in a little bit. Dexterity, I believe, is... There you go. Way to level up. Attacking with light weapons. Toughness is basically just getting beat up. You improve your toughness by getting beat up and forcing your guys to stand when they would otherwise be... to get up and fight instead of playing dead. And then perception, you just use the weapons. So then you've got all of these different skills here. I believe the strength and toughness is the strength and dexterity is... Oh, it does affect damage. It also affects speed, I believe. So the attributes affect both, whereas these individual skills affect one or the other. Your weapon skills affect the amount of damage that you do, and you train it by using that weapon. Very straightforward. The general melee attack improves your combat speed, how quickly you make attacks in general, and chances of it not being blocked. Like, I mean, these are described fairly well right here in these little blurbs down at the bottom. Melee defense is your chance to block attacks. Your chance to dodge attacks is dodge. Martial arts affects your speed with unarmed attacks, and this is what reduces your injury when striking with metal. Ranged, same thing. Turrets, crossbows, that increases damage. Precision shooting increases your accuracy to not shoot your allies. But the only way to train that is to shoot your allies. So, low-level archers are in many ways more of a hindrance to you than an asset, because they're going to be shooting your own guys in the back a lot. But in the long run, I think they do pay off. You got your thievery skills. Stealth is pretty straightforward. It reduces your chance to not be seen. It also reduces your chance of being recognized if you have a bounty or if you have a disguise on. I don't really have... I think I may have touched on disguises very early on in the series when I was picking up faction uniforms. And I was explaining how faction uniforms to me always seemed that, like, the people you were impersonating instantly knew who you were and attacked you, and everybody else fell for the disguise and attacked you. So it's possible that I just never tried it with someone who had a high stealth. I don't know. Lockpicking is picking locks. Very straightforward. Thievery is your chance to steal things from containers. Items that are sitting around out in the open can be successfully stolen as long as no one has line of sight to you. You know, you can just grab it and it'll be good. But in a container, even if there's no one with line of sight to you, if there is a shopkeeper in the same building as you, there is a chance that they will see you. It also improves your chance to sell stolen items without being caught for fencing. Assassination is knocking people unconscious. Very useful for things like raiding slaver camps and stuff like that, because you can dispatch very high damage, high armor targets with just a bop to the back of the head. Athletics is your run speed. You improve that by running at your max speed unencumbered. Swimming is swim speed. It says without drowning. I've never seen someone drown, so I don't know if drowning is possible. I'm not sure about that. Your science is field medic is your ability to first aid people quickly and effectively. Engineer is your build speed for like constructing buildings and repairing buildings. That one's a pretty easy one to train. Robotics is like it's for like repairing things it's like field medic but for robotics, for robots. And your science is research speed and the area which you prospect. Higher science skills will prospect a larger area when you prospect. And then this is all the smithing is your speed and the quality of the things that you craft. Your laboring is your speed at mining and using machines. Your farming is the speed at which you farm, and higher farming means less chance to mess up and ruin plants as you harvest them. And cooking is cooking speed. I do not know what skill robotics, like making these things, fall under. So if anyone knows that, feel free to let me know, because I would certainly like to know that. I thought it was robotics, but I don't know if it is. So that's it in a nutshell, your stats. The thing about this game is that certain races do excel at some things in a way, but in a way they don't. Like, different races will level things up faster or slower. Like, what's Yoi? Yoi's strength goes up by, she gets a 20% bonus to her strength and toughness and dexterity. And I think her farming? No, she does less damage in farming. What is Yoi? I thought Yoi was a Greenlander. I'm not sure what Yoi is. Maybe Yoi's an Ashlander. Maybe... What is Yoi? Maybe Yoi is something else. Because I don't know who has those stats. Yoi's file might have been corrupted, maybe. And it may have defaulted back to a Greenlander skin, even though she's not supposed to be that. But I don't know what else she could be. Yeah, I don't know what has penalties to... I don't know what has, like, bonuses to athletics and penalties to all this other stuff. Yeah, I really have no idea what Yoi is supposed to be. But here's one I know. Wedge, like toughness, 20% bonus to toughness, 20% penalty to perception. But that's only the rate at which they level up. Someone who has, and sometimes you get the bonuses or penalties to these skills as well. Like my melee attack is 20%. But the point is, everybody who is at the same skill, whether it be Wedge with his 20% toughness, or I don't know, someone who has a penalty to, I don't know who has a penalty to toughness. If they're at the same stat value, the chances for them to resist being knocked out, and all that stuff is still the same. The only the only racial bonuses, if you will, that affect that go into effect are the speed at which the skill levels. The only exception to that is hit points, because certain species have different hit points. Humans start at 100 all the way along, whereas like the Shek have 125, or the Hive Princes have only 80. That can never be changed, except on your limbs if you replace your limbs with robotic limbs. Speaking of which, Greasepot needs to go get his robot parts fixed up. So those are the only stats that are actually different from race to race. Otherwise, if you spend the time skilling up, then it doesn't matter. Once you reach that level, it'll be the same no matter if it took you a day or a week to reach there. You'll still have the same benefits. So, is everybody here? Huh, some of these people just are like not... Oh, you were way up there. Oh, right, because you were training. Yep, that's right. That's right, I had some people running some training. Anyway, so the way in which you train these things, obviously there is... Come on, Hammer, get up here. Obviously, you can go out and... What? What the hell? Okay, apparently the game thinks Kuniko is still in here. That's weird. You fix that. I've confused it. Anyway. But there are other ways that you can train. The vanilla game introduces several different training dummies. The assassination training dummy, which these guys are using. The lockpicking training boxes. The regular training dummies. And what's with my camera? Ugh. And the thief training. And these things each affect a different stat. The assassination obviously targets assassination. And levels up your assassination skill. The thievery levels up your thieving. The default target dummy levels up your attack, your melee attack, and the thievery levels up your thieving. There's also a turret training dummy, which I don't have any of, because I find the turret training to be fairly simple. At least I have with this game. I've got plenty of Beak things to practice my turrets on, so I haven't needed to bother with any training for that. But it is there, should you desire it. What the fudge? There we go. I do not know if training is affected by lights, but I figure I better add some in. Now, there are mods that add in a whole bunch of other training dummies, and you can assign someone to a training dummy, and they just work it like a job. And then level their skill up to a certain point, at which point I think they stop gaining any benefit from it, or maybe they just start gaining benefit ridiculously slowly. And you can research more training in the tech tree. Now, I've seen mods that do a lot of different training things. I've seen strength training. I've seen weapon, training for the attributes. But what I got, and I mean, there's lots of them that'll train faster or train to higher levels. But I didn't want to get too crazy with any of that. So I kept it simple. I got some for crossbow training because that's important. I don't actually know. All my crossbow people might already be high enough level that they won't need this. But, oh well. And I also got, where did it go? There we go, sparring mat. Yeah, trains martial arts and melee defense. I don't believe I need anyone with martial arts. I think all of my martial artists, I believe, are already high enough that I don't need any more. I need to grab me more. Can I put it? There we go. We'll just put it up here for right now. There. So, those are all weird dog noises. So those are ways that you can train your different stats safely. There's also less conventional methods, like the Fungradome, where I'm technically getting in fights, but I'm doing so in a controlled, safe manner. And so that's mostly what we'll be focusing on here. We're going to get everybody, we're going to get the war band up and running. We're going to get them training and doing just stuff. Get them prepped and ready for active duty. Because quite frankly, they're not. They just aren't. Like, look at that. Melee combat's only 14. Pitiful! So, what we're going to do is we're going to get some people... What are you doing? So we're going to have these people work on just doing some training. And we're going to do it to what I hope is some pretty kickin' training music while we work on this montage. In this corner, weighing in at most of an orc plus some metal, is your champion, your hero, your war chief, Guifrog! And in this other corner, weighing in at a lot of metal bits, it's Broken Model 30. Let the fight begin! Begin! Fight him! Oh, we've got a strong start here. Both combatants coming in, swinging wildly, but neither one is able to score an effective blow on the other. We're seeing some very top-notch defense here. Oh, and the Broken Model 30 has brought Guifrog to his knees, but he's back. He's back in action. Oh, but he does not seem to be able to overcome the Broken Model 30's relentless assault. Let me give this guy a minute. A challenger. Oh, the challenger scores another fearsome blow. Guifrog's got a lot of ground to cover to get back in the fight here. Oh, another blow. Greasepot just can't seem to land a hit as the challenger continues to strike him. Oh, another blow to the stomach. Oh, and Greasepot is down. The winner is... Oh, he's going... Oh, Greasepot's down. The winner is the challenger, the broken 30. Oh, but wait, Greasepot's back up for more. He's not willing to say die. He's gonna beat this thing if it kills him, and it just might. Last, ladies and gentlemen, this is the action you've come to expect. This is the action you've wanted from the Fungrado. Blood sport, gladiatorial combat. Oh, and the challenger is down. Greasepot is down. The challenger, the broken Model 30, is victorious. Who will be next to enter the ring?